The United Arab Emirates has completely changed since 1970s. It was an impoverished desert lacking access to food and water. Nowadays, the country has totally done a transformation to become one of the most developed in the region thanks to big reserves of oil and a strategic partnership with oil companies. Today, the country represents one of the largest economies not only in the Middle East but also in the world. Despite being a small country, just 80,000 square kilometers, it has 9 million inhabitants, and moreover, its population is growing really fast, especially over the last 2 decades. In fact, the population has tripled due to a high birth rate and an influx of expatriate workers, mostly from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and China. The majority of them came for one reason: jobs, and quite well paid jobs, especially in the construction sector, as cities like Dubai have been completely changed, going from a desert to a city with the highest skyscraper in the world and being the most visited city in the Middle East. These workers make up more than 80% of UAE population. Moreover, the country is emerging as a hub between Europe and Asia. This country has been through a radical change in its society, and well as its economy. The country is nowadays well known because it attracts foreign investors and it is also extremely conducive to private businesses and free market. The country has 38 free trade zones in the country. Furthermore, businesses and transnational firms, even those owned by foreigners, are exempted from all taxes. Plus, as it was not sufficient, all citizens don't pay income taxes and pay a very low property tax. So, how the government is making money? United Arab Emirates government, even after efforts to diversify its economy, is still extremely dependent on its primary export, oil. However, like in other countries, this country was also deeply affected by the global financial crisis of 2008-2009. The authorities tried to stop the crisis by increasing spending and boosting liquidity in the banking sector. But the crisis hit Dubai the hardest, as it was heavily exposed to depressed real estate prices due to a rise in recent years of the construction sector. Moreover, the country had to rescue one of the biggest cities, Dubai, because it lacked sufficient cash to meet its debt obligations, bringing global concern about its solvency and ultimately a 20,000 billion bailout from the UAE Central Bank, an Abu Dhabi government that was refinanced in March 2014.
The United Arab Emirates stands apart from the region's instability and is considered as a safe haven for investors. Historically, the UAE has one of the most stable political systems in the Arab region. The federation has maintained stability since unification in 1971. Even though the political system is considered as inflexible and characterized by lack of political freedom, there have been no reports of imminent upheaval since 1971. The UAE has hardly been affected by the political turmoil in the Arab world. The economic and social factors that have contributed to the unrest elsewhere in the region are less pronounced in the UAE. With more than 80% of the labor force consisting out of expatriates, the country's small national population of less than 1 million enjoys a high living standard. Nationals enjoy financial advantages through generous social security and housing programs. However, unemployment among nationals is high. Estimates hover around 20% of the national labor force, especially among the youth, and concentrated in the smaller emirates. Emirization of the labor market is thus a high political priority. The income disparity, millionaires versus underpaid migrant workers, is extremely wide and can be a potential source of social tensions. Concerning the profile of the United Arab Emirates economy, the UAE has enjoyed the political and social stability thanks to the distribution of its huge oil revenues in the form of social and economic infrastructure, high standards of social services, as health and education. The industrial sector has made remarkable achievements, especially in terms of the increase in the number of enterprises. Industrial activities have been facilitated by competitive low labor and energy costs, favorable tax laws, and political stability. The hydrocarbon industry is one of the most important economic sectors, and since this industry is high capital intensive, the number of workers employed is a small fraction of the labor force. In fact, it is well known that natural resources in general, and in this specific case oil wealth per se, creates few jobs directly. So, this is why the non-oil private sector has to address the challenge of unemployment. The Emirates economy, like other oil exporting countries, faced considerable oil price volatility in the 1990s. However, in that decade, the UAE registered a real GDP growth averaged about 7%. Much of this growth was created through diversification in non-oil sectors. First, in energy-intensive petrochemicals, fertilizers, cement and aluminum, and subsequently tourism, trade and manufacturing. High capital productivity has filtered into high levels of gross domestic product, and the country enjoyed remarkable growth rates, also in the period from 2000 to 2005. Yet, labor productivity remained relatively low in the country, and total factor productivity gave a negligible contribution to economic growth. Due to the lack of national highly technology sectors, the Emirates aimed to acquire and access foreign technology, in particular technology from the highly industrialized OECD countries, instead of generating its own technology.
The UAE 2021 vision, recently taken by the federal government, looks at innovation and knowledge as the key drivers of the economy. The emirate that reached the most visible result in the diversification of the economy is Dubai. Dubai, in the last decade, has become a major international service economy and has established itself as a regional center for finance, real estate development, tourism, shopping, and exports. Dubai experienced, for instance, the development of Jebel Ali port and harbor. Dubai has followed an economic development model which is strongly pro-business, focused on market liberalism, and that embraces globalization. The UAE Vision 2021 main focus is to obtain an economy competing in the global market, becoming a more skill-intensive and diversified knowledge economy. Employment and the slow job growth is a major problem. Nowadays, UAE is continuing its diversification. Massive investment has been made in infrastructure in the region, in terms of tourism, real estate, and leisure. The richest states of Abu Dhabi and Dubai have been benefited from the majority of this. However, the poorer northern Emirates have also been developed, with grants from federal government by supporting the growth of residential and commercial properties, road and service networks. Regarding education and employment, in the UAE, more than a third of women between the ages of 18 and 23 years pursue tertiary degrees and graduate degree programs. Many of these economically literate females earn degrees in natural science and technology, offering recruiting potential for companies.
Oil exporters countries must continue with reforms that strengthen their economic diversification and also support job creation. It is now clear that to develop a diversified economy based on knowledge is essential to strengthen the link between innovation, education, learning, and human capital. This is a medium-long-term strategy that requires a lot of investment, and a crucial factor of this change is the huge shift of economic power made possible by technology, especially from internet. Producing and combining heterogeneous technologies is proving to be a successful move in the global market, but small and medium-sized companies from UAE need to adapt themselves to this new trend. One of UAE's important sectors of the economy is tourism. In 2011, 8.2 million overseas visitors sought out of the UAE as a holiday destination. Unfortunately, this is generating negative externalities as the UAE is generating the highest carbon footprints per capita in the world. So the growth out of proportion of tourism will lead to environment deterioration, which in turn spoils the natural beauty of the destination. Some of the major cities managed to achieve this transition and their diversification due to high oil prices between 2001 and 2008. For example, Dubai has arguably achieved greater global publicity as an international tourism, trade and finance hub, and Abu Dhabi's strategy revolves around similar sectors like tourism, entertainment, plus regional and local businesses. Therefore, the UAE's economy should orientate itself towards innovative industrial sectors and professional and technical services and foster the intangible exports. Among the new business activities to be promoted in the UAE, in order to diversify the economy in the direction of a knowledge economy, we can mention business services, higher education, R&D laboratories, and firms to develop new technologies. In conclusion, the UAE's economy, to become more diversified and competitive, must have new businesses in the Schumpeterian sense, that is, radical innovators capable of integrating heterogeneous technologies and use the best scientific and technological research, but also should produce and export immaterial assets.
The economy of the United Arab Emirates will continue to rely on the hydrocarbon sectors to drive growth, but the non-oil sector is becoming increasingly important, thanks also to the major industrial projects coming on stream in the next years. The objective of macroeconomic stability through effective monetary, fiscal, and exchange rate control policies is also essential to implement structural reforms and to facilitate the action of investors. Although in the current economic scenario, it is possible that there could be problems on increasing financial costs due to the increased global risk aversion influenced by the geopolitical tensions in the neighboring countries and the financial problems in the euro area. The functioning of labor market must be improved so to make possible creating more productive employment. Also, total factor productivity must be increased to foster growth. In addition, the gender gap must be passed within a period of time, not too long, and the young generation should find more opportunities for entrepreneurship and business activities. Since the key drivers of a developed knowledge economy are technology, innovation, and high-quality education, then research and development must be at the center of government policies of the country, as well as higher education. Furthermore, the environmental policy is another important aspect for implementing a new growth model. Finally, the new areas of business should be identified in the innovative industrial activities and innovative services. Professional and technical whose products and services with high knowledge intensive must be allocated not only to domestic market but also predominantly to foreign markets.